Before we get into the interview, it's just to let you know you can catch a link to Kenny's channel in the description, as well as a link to the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Hope you enjoyed the interview, guys, and if you do, don't forget to click subscribe. Cheers. Hello and welcome to the next edition of the One on One podcast. I'm joined by somebody who was a big inspiration to me in starting the podcast game. If you've not, check him out on Flip the Mindset on YouTube. It's Kenny Mackay. How you doing, Kenny?
How you doing, my man? How's
I'm
things
buzzing to
going?
have you on, mate. Buzzing to have you on.
It's absolutely fine, mate.
How you coping with the lockdown and COVID and all that?
Do you know it's been a bit mental? My partner had a baby in January, the 22nd at the start, just before COVID happened, and we could hear about the virus being in China. Remember, it was in Wuhan, was it? And you always thought of yourself, it's not going to come here, is it? That'll be fine, man. They'll deal with that, and But then it started coming closer, and then before you know it, my boy was about 8 weeks old, and he'd not seen anyone at all. He didn't see anyone for a long time, and we were scared that was going to affect him. So we brought in a bubble, her mum and dad, and he's been okay. He's been great. My biggest worry was him. With myself not working I've not worked for about 9 months. That's been crazy. All my savings spent. I'm sure, like everyone else, I've cooked, baked. I've been out running before my surgery. I've played chess, played PlayStation, done Zoom calls, done quizzes, everything. I think I've been through the whole ringer with this madness. But I had some real down days as well. Some real down days, and I've had some really, really good times. I think it's like people come to me for positivity, and that's what I do in my platform. So I think it's easy to be negative. Do you know what I mean? It comes natural to us. The brain prefers the negative over the positive. So I think that and you don't need to be positive all the time, but try to do different things that can enhance your energy, or it can make your day better, is very, very important. So that's what I've been trying to do.
I'm a big believer in what you just said there about how it's really easy for us to be negative. But I think that's a reflection on the way the media is driven and everything that you read. There's a lot of negativity out there. So it's very easy for that to remind you of what is negative in your life. And that's why I think this is why I wanted to get you on now, because I think what you do with the podcast is you spread such a positive message. And when we get into later on and people hear your story, they'll realise that you can always remain positive even in the worst situations. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, you can always have hope, and you can always act. I think remaining positive. You're not going to be positive every day. You're going to have days where you're not positive, and then what has to take over is like discipline, routine, and just trying effort. Do you know what I mean? It's so overlooked. Effort. Do something, act. If you're having a bad day, you're having a bad week, you need to act upon it. Do wee things to try and make your time better. But yeah, this lockdown has been crazy. I think the worst thing with the media was we got to a certain point, didn't we, that we started realising that the media the government was drip feeding us, didn't they? They would give you wee kind of hints, and we knew it was coming, but we knew like another lockdown was coming, but they would go, oh, not sure what's going to happen yet, and we maybe going into another lockdown, we may be thinking this. We knew it was coming, but they just didn't see it at the time. I don't think they were decisive enough in letting the public know, and that created a lot of hysteria, and created a lot of anxiety, I think, for our fellow British people.
I definitely think that if they would have told people earlier, it would have been able to let us prepare more for it mentally. And you talked about like having down days and stuff like this, and I've started this YouTube channel, and I think for me that's been a big part of. I almost need to get myself pre-motivated to do stuff, because I struggle to motivate myself right off the bat. So it's like I need to prepare myself to become motivated, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
is that
absolutely.
something that you do as well? Or?
Do you know, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool as you mentioned that. Pre-motivating yourself. most of us, let's be honest, you know, we're not off the bat motivated, are we? See, when you're feeling a bit down, especially, the last thing you want to do is go and do a podcast. Do you know what I mean? The last thing you want to do is go to the gym. See, if I'm having a bad day and I'm negative, you know, I want to stay in bed. So, you know, you go through certain thoughts, then I might get up and do a bit of action, whether it's meditation or even a big one for me is getting up, making the bed. Do you know what I mean? Servicing yourself and going downstairs, having 2 litres of water straight off. That's like my pre-motivation. After that, I know, like, I feel fuller, you know what I mean? So I know my diet's going to be
You feel
better.
hydrated.
I won't get a bag of Doritos out and start munching them because I'm feeling shit. And yeah, we're dehydrated when we sleep. So when that happens, that kind of, so I do wee things now that kind of pre-motivates me. Do you know what I mean? And I'll go through it in my head, right? Okay, what I'm going to do. But I don't confuse it anymore with that procrastinating where I used to sit all day and think about how I'm going to change the world, you know, and then I would go to sleep again. Honestly, every day. Then I'd wake up the next day and I would think all sorts of thoughts. How am I going to change the world? Without action. And a lot of us do this, you know what I mean? A lot of us have big dreams and big goals and we'll think about them, then we'll talk about them and all that stuff, but we'll never act upon them. Now, that's a big thing that I flipped the mindset with, and that changed my life.
And I think you're preaching to the choir there, because see, before, I'm going to give the viewers a wee bit of my own story here as well when we delve into this, and then we can kind of talk through it. Before lockdown, I was out 3 or 4 nights a week drinking, but I always had these grand ideas in my head, some of them which I've still not revealed to this day. I'll keep them on the back burner. But I always thought, I'm going to change the world, I'm going to change the world for disabled people, but then I would wake up and I would lie in my bed all day and watch TV. Like, and you're not going to do that by doing that, do you know what I mean? So
absolutely,
I think that's why lockdown's been beneficial in a way, because we always look at it and how it's been so negative, but it's actually been beneficial because it's made me realise anyway, and I know it's probably made a lot of other people realise life is short. Like, time does run out, so that's why I've started this, and that's why it's getting up and running.
You're absolutely bang on in what you say. A lot of the times, you know, we'll be average. You know, we'll be happy with being average, won't we? We'll get the good feeling of thinking about something. See, when we think about how we're going to change the world, it makes us feel good, doesn't it? It makes us feel better about ourselves. See, when we think about going to the gym, it makes us feel better about ourselves. You know, we'll remain average there, but what you have to put into it is action. And you were in that place where you were just thinking, like I've been many times, where you're just thinking about using them good feelings, especially when you're on the booze, you know, when you're on the Wismar, and you're telling people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you know, and there's nothing stopping me. And then,
I love you, no. Next day, wake up, total fear.
You wake up with fear for 4 days, praying that you'll be forgiven. But you know, so this is a big thing I teach people now. It's about action. You have to act upon it, even if it's small things. They build up to your goals. You know, start doing the things that maybe set you up. You know, start servicing yourself more, get your hair cut more, moisturize, take care of yourself. You know, it sounds weird, but cut your nails more. If you've not showered for a full day, and then that, when you're depressed, that can lead into 2 days and you're sitting about and you're feeling sorry for yourself. Make sure you're showering, you know, or a bath. Service yourself is very important. Make sure you're eating the good food, or even so, a good breakfast. You know, make sure you're making your bed. These wee things make you feel better, you know, for sure.
And I think I've seen, and I've tried. I've finished mine, so. But no, I think it's good that you say that. Focus on what you can control, because I've seen a lot of my friends go, "Oh, when is this going to end? This is getting beyond the joke." And they've said to me, obviously, because my disability, I can't go at a job like that. Do you know what I mean? I might have a fucking major accident if I go and try that. Do you know what I mean? You know, finding it really difficult. And I think my disability's prepared me. And I'm sure that your injuries and stuff have probably done the same for you. It's prepared me really well, because you got your injuries, but then you couldn't control that after that happened, right? So with me, with this pandemic, it's like I can't control when it finishes. What I
Yep.
can control is what I'm doing with my YouTube and the exercise that I'm doing, and I think that's the mentality that people should be drumming into themselves.
Aye, listen, you're absolutely bang on. You're absolutely bang on. I was just listening to a podcast last night about this, about what you have to focus on what you can control. I think we get into this. I think social media doesn't help, does it? We're constantly seeing the negative stuff. We're constantly seeing stuff that we can't control that scares us. We're almost put into the corner thinking it's our fault. You know what I mean? We're almost feeling guilty for it, and like we have to change it. If you can't control something, what I do now, if I can't control something, I'm not spending more than 5 minutes thinking about it, because I know where that puts me. That puts me into a spiral. You know, that puts me into a bad place. So something I can't control. All right, I've had my operation. Right, this is my fifth knee surgery. I think lost body count. I'm lying in the hospital bed. I started getting really worked up and greeting my eyes out, and then I had to keep saying to myself, 5 minutes, Kenny. You've got 5 minutes to have it out. I had my 5 minutes out. My greet, thought about things off, blaming myself, beating myself up, all that stuff, and I had to flip it round within my 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes were over, right, what can you control? You can control taking your painkillers on time. You can control resting. You can control getting as much sleep as you can. You can control eating well. You can control staying hydrated. You can get your mind into a better place. You can meditate. You can pick up a hobby like what I done. Obviously, was podcast. Listen to as much nutritional and mindset and self development podcasts as I could. That's what I could control. And when I started focusing on that, I started feeling great. I started being better. And I'll tell you a story. After my second or third operation, I didn't do this. I was a different person, I didn't know. And I spiraled. And every day I beat myself up. Why me? I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't doing this. My stupid knees. It's my fault. All this. I'm useless. I can't even bend down and play with the dog. I can't even play with my nephews. I can't even go out a jog. I can't do nothing. Just feeling helpless. And I started, being sad and self-pity. It's addictive. It's addictive. Well, go into it, man. I was feeding myself all sorts of bad foods and feeding myself negativity, and I'm starting to become a wee bit nasty in my own head, looking at other people's Instagrams, go, stuff them, do you know what I mean? They're just this, they're just that. Just turning into a horrible person. And I learned from that, but many people are stuck there now, and many people might not have the know-how to go out or might not listen to podcasts like this and maybe have that know-how or motivation or encouragement to go and change things to themselves, and that's what leads to the brick wall.
I think like you're talking about people that might not have that just now. I think if we're going to inspire anybody here, which is obviously what I'm looking to do and we're looking to do here, I think it's important for them to know that if we give them this information and they go and they use it, that as you say, you will still have the days when you're in that kind of attitude. It's about how you then snap out that, and it's like taking the 5 minutes, as you say, is so vital, because you can't, just because you fall off the bike doesn't mean the bike's broken. You can't get back on it and start riding it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, you're bang on. I think what I wrote in the ebook, which hasn't been published yet, it's took me ages. I've kind of procrastinated over it. Is the 5 minutes, and I wrote the 5. I don't know if you've seen it on my story on my on the podcast. When I said my story, I talked about the 5 steps to a flipped mindset. If you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's going to get you out of your good place. We'll rely on our mums. We'll rely on our girlfriends. That's a big one. Relying on a girlfriend, or the girlfriend relying on the boyfriend. That they are supposed to. It's their fault. They've got to make us happy. I bring, 50% of happiness to the relationship. My missus has got to bring her 50% to the relationship. That makes it your 100%. If I'm not bringing my 50%, that's me. She can't fill in for that or weigh her down. And that's what ends up happening. We don't take that accountability for ourselves, and we think other people are going to bring us out of that place. Yes, they could maybe lend a helping hand to get you over a couple of hurdles, but they're not going to change your life and put you back in the straight and narrow. You need to grip that. So I think a massive level of accountability lies with us as humans, and that should be taught. We need to accept, right? Okay, we accept the operation, right? Accept the operation's happened to me. Yes, I might not play football anymore, but listen, here's my appreciation phase. Step 2. Okay, I've had the chance to play football. I've had 2 great legs for 20-something years. Some people don't
Two
get
more than
that chance.
fucking me, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Some people don't get that chance. You know, they don't get that chance, and that's the appreciation. Right? I've had this. I've played football. You know, I've went shoulder to shoulder with some phenomenal footballers like Marvin Andrews and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I've done great things, and I've been blessed to be able to do that. So that's my appreciation. I'm also appreciative of. I'm grateful that I have the tools to go and have a life, to go and better myself, to get back on the path I want to be on, to maybe go and do something else, like I done bodybuilding. I think too much we don't focus on that gratitude, that appreciation, or we don't accept too much, and we create a hate in ourselves, and we sink. I think acceptance and being grateful are huge, and I think they're very, very. I think they're very, very. I don't think they're talked about enough.
No, I'd agree. And something that you mentioned was a team effort. That's obviously something that you can draw into for your footballing career, because it's the same as being on a football pitch and then the team effort. So I want to touch on the football now. What are your earliest memories of playing football, Kenny?
Actually, it was in my nana and papa's garden, right? Stayed in a wee town down near the seaside, Argyll. And it was a place called Dunoon, and we're playing on a windy day, right? And it's me and my brother. He's teaching me. I'm only young. I'm only about 3 or 4. It's one of my first memories of playing football, and we're playing with a mouldy. Remember the mould blasters?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Aye, the ones that would hit you in your face and leave a tattoo there for about 2 weeks.
Wow, honestly. Now think, I'm 3 or 4, right? Me and my brother are playing. His mate Craig's in goals, right? He's took a shot. He's tried to maybe go top bin. God knows what he's going to do. And he smashed me straight in the arse. Honestly, the worst pain and the worst noise ever. I'm surprised that didn't put me off football. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm running upstairs screaming, that's not, mom, whatever. I think he's knocked me into next week, man. You know what I mean? Because that's only me, a wee chubby thing. And I ran up, mate, and that was horrendous. I think my mum always laughs about it and says I was just a big red mark for ages, man. So, but that's one of my second memory was actually at the DYFL, where we played. It was a great indoor kind of nursery grassroots football place. And I remember 2 boys, Johnny Lehane, one of my bestest friends in the world, and a boy called Alan McNee. And I always remember they hated each other, right, since the first day they met. And they must only be about 4-year-olds, right? And they're tagging each other. Right, so they're running about with the ball. One's carrying no football skills or anything like that. I can't remember he used to carry the ball.
And then kick it.
Aye, brilliant. Now, Alan's a ginger-haired boy, you know what I mean? And Johnny's just a wee fierce guy anyway. So you're thinking, it's going to get feisty. Now, they're 4-year-olds. Stephen, you've got to think about this. 4-year-old, and it starts turning into swiping the ball off each other. Then it starts turning into punching the ball off each other. Then it starts turning into bashing each other's head. And this went on for about maybe 2 years. But they're my funny memories of football when I first started. Like, growing up, there was no care. You know, you picked the ball up, man. You know what I mean? Chucked it to your mate during the game, and the ref would go, play on. You know what I mean? There was no worries.
It's something that we don't see enough these days, I don't think. And it's partly responsible for, in my opinion, there was a wee bit of a decline in the standards of Scottish football. Is that you don't see kids about the street anymore.
No.
And from my opinion, it's because there's too much technology. There's too much distractions. Whereas when we were younger, we had to go and make our own fun. So it was always out playing football until it was pitch black. And if you can play on red ash, you can play on grass. I'm sorry.
Remember how good the summer was, the summertime. And I don't know if you maybe, how old are you?
I'm 27, believe it or not.
Oh no, so you maybe got just the end of that kind of phase, that period, when I would wake up in the summer holidays and I would go out. My mum would actually come give me my lunch because she knew I wasn't coming home. you know, until that it was dark. So we used to go somewhere called the registry office. That's probably actually a very good memory as well. You go somewhere called the registry office. It's me, a boy called Johnny, a wee boy called Sonny McPhee. He was a wee guy that moved down from Glasgow. He came down claiming that he knew footballers and all that, you know what I mean? So we would all call ourselves, like I'd be Ronaldo, someone would be Kaká, someone would be Brazilian Ronaldo, not CR7, and we'd all be running about this registry office car park. They hated us playing there because we would smash windows and all that, but we loved it. And we're like, Kaká and all that, you know what I mean? And celebrating and all that. And then you would ask your mum for the top, can I get Ronaldo 9 in the back? Do you know what I mean? You would turn up, shin guards, and we would maybe
You didn't get the hairdo, did you? Fucking.
Did I get the hairdo? No, I don't think I did. I probably wanted it, but I don't think I actually got the hairdo, but I wanted it. But that was phenomenal. Remember that wee thing?
Oh, iconic. The
Well,
wee island.
it was great. It ended up boys, girls playing 10-a-side, you know, onto the street. We're running up and down the street. And these times were, I never see it anymore. I never, ever see it. And it's that makes me sad. I can't remember the last time I've seen boys and girls outside playing football in the street.
Neither can I.
And then you go, I actually seen, I was going past Bishop Briggs school, and there was boys playing in the grass bit at the, do you know, at the side of the, you're in Bishop, you're not in Bishop Briggs, Steve, are you?
I'm in Rutherglen, mate, so I'm like the East End of Glasgow.
If anyone knows this, it's Bishop Briggs, and there's a school right basically on an AstroTurf pitch, and the boys were playing in the grass bit beside it. And I'm thinking, why are they there? And I thought maybe it's because they just can't be bored climbing that fence again. Or maybe they get in trouble. Do you know what I mean? Just leave a key. Just leave it opened. Let boys go in and play in the AstroTurfs and play in the grass pitches. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We moan about these players not being good enough when they're older and us being pure, you know, we don't express ourselves as Scottish footballers. Well, we don't have anybody to bloom and play. And where we do play, it's all serious. So,
and it's always pay to play. All this stuff is, you can't just go and get a ball and just a big equipment, man.
Just play, play football. Go in and 20 of you just kick the ball about, you know, and that's where that's your best memories. My best memories are when I was young. When football and I got professional, it's too serious. It's just so serious, and it's not the same. It's just not. It doesn't matter what any footballer will tell you. It's just not the same. I think when you get to the top level and you're just good enough, then you can have fun again. Do you know what I mean? But it's the memories are when you're young.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you realise that you had a talent now?
I don't know if I realised I had a talent. I just realised that I was good at. I was winning a lot of trophies. I mean, I won about 100 and something medals, and I won about 80 something trophies growing up in Argyll. You know what I mean? I would win all the competitions. I was always in the team. I was picked first or second. You know what I mean? It was always like me and my mate, Johnny, the boy, the fierce one I told you about. And then I get moved up. 3 age groups. I get moved up, and mums and dads weren't happy because it's the wee poor kid coming up and playing with all the big boys. You know what I mean? And they didn't happy. So actually, 6 months later, they moved me back down. Do you know what I mean? But I was better than these boys. So I kind of maybe then, do you know what I mean? But I had a lot of, I don't think I had the fairest chance back home. I had scouts come in for me at competitions, and the dads of the team, bless them, were just didn't tell us, and they done that to a few players, and it was really, really bad. But I think I would have played for Morton or something a lot earlier than I did.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think that maybe your geographical situation didn't help you?
Oh, it kills you. Absolutely kills you. Being from Dunoon and playing, you have to get a ferry in the train up to Glasgow. You know what I mean? Sometimes that can feel like a million miles away when it's a really, really rainy, when it's a really, really windy night and the gale force 8 or 9 and the ferries are running late or hovering, or you get stuck in it. I've been stuck in the middle of the Clyde for an hour and a half on the Western Ferry because we couldn't dock. You know what I mean? And it can feel a million miles away. So yeah, it definitely did. But don't get me wrong, we had a phenomenal team in Dunoon. We had a team with some phenomenal players. We actually came third in a massive tournament in Holland against pro youth teams. Ajax and that were there. We came, what was it, Ajax? whoever won was, I think it was a Dutch team that won Ajax, and we were winning the leagues. We get promoted to the top league. We were very, very, very good, but I just think that got too serious as well. You know, the guys were wanting to kind of almost, they were thinking they were running a pro youth team, and the fun was getting zapped out. You know what I mean? And they were putting a lot of guilt and pressure on the players, and we'd only, 14, 15. So when that actually ended, I took a year out because I was just scunnered for football. And then my next involvement was with Greenock Morton when I get took on in there under 19s.
Yeah, I think that you touched on there about pro youth as well. That's a great point. I think it's far too serious even at that level. I think it should all be about harnessing players' ability and just allowing them to fucking play. You don't.
We need to, yeah.
See,
we need
my
to
dad used to be a coach at Celtic, right? And I would often find that there was such this, even at under 15, under 17 level, there was, I get it a wee bit more at under 17, but see, under 15, there was such a drive to win. You shouldn't need to teach any football player to want to win. That should be there automatically, right? You don't need to instill that. Well, I think they should just encourage people to play. Just play.
Yeah, we need to. Frida, I was talking to Barry Ferguson about that as well when I had him in the podcast about youngsters playing. We go in there, they're robots, but what damage do we do in an international stage? Zero. We've not for years. So how is there not something wrong? You know, you get older guys that argue in SFA of this is the way it's done, all that crap. We're not flexible. We're not, you know, we're so stiff in the ball when you right up to the top. Do you know what I mean? And then if a player is like it's sad to say it, if he is like more kind of, if he's playing more like a Spanish player or anything like that, we'll drill that out of them. Do you know what I mean? We will drill that player out. Don't be doing that with the ball. Get that ball up the wing. Get the pressure.
Play it into the channel.
Honestly, you get it drilled out of you. I've been there and seen it, man. Amazing players get it drilled out of them. There was a boy I played with called Joe Bradley. Don't know if you've heard of him. One of the best players I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, he was frightening. Just never get a chance. They didn't want him to play like he played. He was like Messi, you know. He was just his centre of gravity. He was small boy centre of gravity. He used to skin everyone, and managers just didn't like him. They just didn't play him. They just didn't. Just thought he was too much a fair player, and we couldn't. And I just can't believe that, because he's a player if you harness right and get him in the right mindset and get him believing and loving himself like he didn't. You know, you've got an absolute gold mine there. But we see it, don't we? We see it up to the first team. We watch the first team and we think, yes, we can get results sometimes. But look how stiff we are and one-dimensional we are. And, you know, you go and you watch the Dutch setup, which is phenomenal. Similar country, you know, similar population, similar weather. And you see their under 12s, under 14s and stuff like that, keeping the ball up, you know what I mean? 10 yards, 20 yards away from each other, keeping the ball up for like half an hour at a time. That's incredible. Whereas we're just getting drilled shuttles, sprints, drill. You take it out. You do. You turn up to training. Yeah, like when I used to turn up to training, I was nervous. And not for the good reasons. I was nervous. I was, oh no, what am I going to get shouted at tonight? You know, and it goes right through. You know, I mean, I think what we do is when footballers do make it, they don't admit it. They just go, no, the system's great, this and that. They don't come back and go, no, well, this was a problem, that was a problem, this was a problem.
You know why I don't think they do that? Sorry to butt in there, Kenny. I don't think that they do that because the system's worked for them and they've got to a certain level. And as you say, when you think about all the people that haven't made it, that's a travesty that they haven't, to be honest. Because I know loads of them as well.
I mean, it's a pretty lonely sport, you know. Your teammate will grass you up in a second, you know what I mean, for them to get like the starting place, you know, and it is pretty lonely as much as the camaraderie is there, you know what I mean. When it comes to contract time and all that, it can be a very, very lonely place. But you're a team. We need that. We just need to install this more, you know. We need to. How many players have we seen in Scotland just go down the dumps? You know, John Flex came back. He's done amazing coming back, but at the start we just lost him. Do you know what I mean? You've so many players, and I think we need to harness these gold mines when they do come through, these flair players and stuff like that. Yeah. And then obviously it takes someone to write online and everyone will go, well, he was an okay, he was this, he was that, blah, blah, blah. We're a proud country, aren't we? But we're also ridiculously naive sometimes when looking at the bigger picture.
It goes back to the mindset. It's dead easy to say, "Oh, he's an alky, turn to the drink." Well, what made that happen? What was the trigger?
Yeah, what was going on?
You don't just go and pick up the bottle one day because you're bored. There is something that happens that makes you go there.
Yeah. Were you opening up to him? Were you letting him? Did you let him know that he could open up to you? Were you an outlet for him? Could he come speak to you, or was he too scared to say boo? Do you know what I mean? If anything was happening at home and stuff like that, could she have done this? Could he have done that? You know, I don't think we do that at all.
No,
you know, we need to change it.
So obviously you touched on it, you went to Morton there, and then after that you get your move to Annan. And you first get into Annan, I'm right in saying you're flying, aren't you? It's going in for fun.
Well, no, I went to Morton in the 19s. I was in the 19s. I went playing against Lee Griffiths that year, and I'll never forget it. And was Lee Griffiths? I think it was Livingston he was with at the time. And they betted 9-2, 9-3, and I scored the 3, and he scored 8.
Right.
He was right. Worst haircut in the world. Oh, haircut ridiculous, but he was brilliant. And I had a great year with the 19s, and then I was in and about the first team, and then there was all sorts of people undermining the manager, Davy Irons at the time, Choco, and that was there. It just wasn't right. He was undermining Davy Irons and stuff, and James Grady and that, and ended up half of us didn't even get signed with him. You know, we were good at the time. We were really good. So after that, scunnered, you know, you just get told, I think one night, that was it. I couldn't turn up for a game, right? Because the ferries were off. And I phoned Choco, the manager, and I said to him, I can't turn up for a game. He says, my ferries are off. I says, I don't know what to do. He goes, drive round. I was like, I don't drive. My mum doesn't drive. I'm like, you know what I mean? I can't drive round. You know what I mean? It's going to take 2 hours or something. And if no one can take me round, drive round, blah, 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 all right. Something. See you Tuesday, or something like that. Or don't turn up Tuesday, see you Thursday. He phoned me on the Wednesday and says, we were thinking of taking you on to the first team, but we don't want you anymore. We're not taking you on anymore.
But because the ferries were off.
Unreal, I know. But because he was in and there was a lot of trouble with him and the first team. Him and James Dindy actually then took on the first team. So they kind of squeezed Davy Irons out. It was all, we could see it happening. We could all feel it. But we had some great players. We had Darren McGeoch, Dylan McGeoch's brother. We had Lee Mitchell, Liam Kerrigan, big boy called Limo, Darren McLean. We had some unbelievable players. And they all just, see you later. Every one of them, both out the door. And that was from no fault of our own. We were very, very good, and we were a great team. And I just, that scunnered me. You know, I'm left there thinking, what do I do now? Had teams phoning and all that, do you want to come play with us, do this? And I thought my dream was away. And you're seeing it now with some of these young players just take their own life. You know, we had 3 young players last week do it, and then we had the young boy at Man City. And you're thinking, you can see it. You can see why they could get into that position. You know, if they don't get, you don't even get contact after it. It's just see you later. You know what?
That's when I think the coaches and the clubs need to be like, they need to know that players need support. And see, all you need in life is opportunity, mate. And somebody to believe in you. That's all you need. And then your talents will flourish. But it sounds like at Morton you never had that. No,
well, as I say, the team was amazing. And during the season, it was great. And the boys were great. Really loved the boys at that Morton team. They were all great boys. And as I said, it's a lonely game. You know, coaches can get sacked in a second. You know, do you know what I mean? There is this thing in football. People will lie to you. They might lie to you and not see it in the papers and all that stuff. But there is this lonely thing in football, and such a poor level of mental health in football. Poor level. And I think that year ruined a lot of players. They never came back from that. They never came back. They're all playing amateur now or whatever. They never ever came back from that, and that's a shame because they were fantastic players and they were good spirited boys. But after that, I actually took a year out again on a pivotal year because you're 16, 17. You're developing. You know,
just
you're
starting
really
to bulk up. You're just starting to become a man.
in your game and your body, and I just took a year out and says, no, I can't play football. There's too much hurt there involved. Maybe me being sensitive, I don't know, but you know, when I thought about football, I thought about hurt, you know, and I'll admit that, you know, I'm not going to come on here and say, you know, I was fine and all that. I was really, really hurt. I was struggling. And I just took the heat out. And then a boy called Stephen Mooney. Do you know Stevie Mooney?
I've heard his name.
What a lovely guy, ex-player, phenomenal guy. Phoned me up and says, "Big man, I'm managing Greenock Juniors." I said, "All right." He says, "Junior football, do you know about it?" I says, "No, I didn't know anything about junior football. You know, I come from I come from a peninsula. You know what I mean? I didn't know much out of
With
the
the
noon.
professional game.
Yeah, I didn't know much. So I'm like, what's junior football? And he said, it's a bit like semi-pro, stuff like that. You can earn a wee bit of money. So I'm sitting there, dreams shattered. I says, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And I went over, and that was the best. That was the change of my life. They were the best times of my life, junior football, playing with Greenock Juniors. The guys were brilliant. They'd all been through that hurt of professional football.
Yeah.
Most of them. They all knew. They all crowded around each other. They were a proper unit. Any professional team I've played have not had that spirit. You know, it's just phenomenal togetherness, brotherhood. Even with the coaches, the officials, they want to do anything for you. We'll give you a lift home. No, you're not walking. I used to, when I trained with Morton, I used to walk from the Western Ferries all the way to the Battery Park. And one night I actually walked from the Western Ferry, people who watch this who are from Greenock will know, all the way to Capello, which is Morton Stadium. Well, I've done that a couple of times, to be fair, which is a good few miles. A good few miles. And at Greenock, I never walked home once, ever. At Greenock Juniors, they would take me everywhere. Oh no, here, take me. And I just thought that was fantastic. You know, it was a different touch. It was a real different touch. And then the first year with them, played well, learned how to play like a man. Do you know what I mean? I actually got an attitude check because I still had that Greenock Morton youngster attitude. You know, that pro youth attitude. I'm better than anyone. All that horse crap. And a big boy. God rest his soul, Ryan McDonald. He passed away a couple of months ago. He gave me my first bollocking. He says, "You're not pro youth now, you're not Morton now, son." He's like, "You need to get your act together. Stop thinking you're better than everyone. You're no." He says, "See, if you were first team level, you would be in the first team, but you're no." And he goes, "So pipe down." And you know what? I get really angry and upset and all that. And I was arguing back with him, saying this and that. Then when I went home, I thought about it, you know, and that was a big turning point as well. I came back and I trained harder. I accepted. That's what I mean by acceptance. I accepted.
There's not enough of that for me in the game now. I think the game's far too soft. Far too soft.
Soft.
And I think that young boys for the likes of your Celtic, your Rangers, big teams should be going to these levels and getting toughened up. Get a kicking, get a bollocking. Because it'll make some. I bet you felt that when you played junior. I bet that made you 10 times the player that you were before you went. I bet that improved you so much as a player. Just be going there.
Solid, honestly, solid. Getting smashed off big, even at training. Big guys like John Boyd and that, some of the hardest boys about, elbowing you right in the cutting, man. Do you know what I mean? They bother, brilliant. You love it.
You can deal with that in training. You can deal with it on a Saturday. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, professional. You go and you whisper at someone and they dive to get you sent off. Mental. But there's not enough of that. And I got a rollicking a few times off John Boyd as well. He was a great guy as well. They all just wanted me to succeed. And you should have seen their faces when I made it professional. I mean, second year we get promoted, and I scored a ton of goals that year. And the third year we won the league and get promoted again. So I've joined Juniors in the bottom league, and we've went to the second top league, which was frightening. Do you know? And the whole movement was just great. Every week you're going to work and then you're going to training and you're loving it and you're making a wee bit of money, which was fantastic. And then, the transition to Annan. We were playing a game, the last game of the season, and the manager came in and says, "Listen, there's a lot of people watching you today. You know, you've made news, you've played so well, blah, blah, blah. And I think I'd just played really well against Talbot, Auchinleck Talbot. We had in the Cup and they beat us 4-2. But I'd played phenomenal and I missed 2 sitters to put us up 4-1. No, I missed 2 sitters that would have put us up 4-1, then they just came back and humped us. But I played really, really well. And then the next week we played this team. I can't remember who we played, but we played them at home, last game of the season. And I think we won 9-2, 9-1 or 11-1, 11-2. And I'd scored 4 or 5 or 6 goals. And before the match, it was surreal. We just bombed it. And I think the manager before it says, listen, there's players here. And I'm like, oh my God, the professional game again. Now, what comes with that? All I could think about was pure nerves. That morning was brutal. I'm thinking, oh no, maybe my chance again to go. Is it going to be different?
That's what I was going to say. Is there not that bit in the back of your head that's going like, this is my chance to prove whatever they done to me, right? This is my chance.
Absolutely.
Or was it sheer negativity that you'd went to because of the experiences that you'd had?
No, because juniors, the guys and the people there at the club, a very special guy, Alex Wilson, who's now passed away as well. The chairman, he'd done everything for me, and they'd made me such a stronger person, such a better person. And I don't know if you remember, my brother died, who my first memory of football. He passed away while I was at Greenock, and they couldn't have been better for me. They couldn't have been better with me. So I went through a lot during them years, do you know what I mean? A lot of loss, a lot of madness. And so I was full of confidence. And if they didn't pick me that day, I don't care. I would have played with Greenock all my life. They were that good a club, and they were that good to me. So I just went out to kind of to lift the trophy and to play for my family at that time. And I think there was there Jim Chapman, who took me to Annan. Aitken was there from Stranraer, and a good few other teams were there. And it was nerve-wracking. There was hundreds of people there watching the game for us lifting the trophy. It was really nerve-wracking, but it was great. And then I went to Annan, of course.
Yeah, he started off pretty well there, am I right in saying? Got a couple of goals. Got a couple of goals absolutely flying. So was if that form just for Greenock, it just continued into the big league? Because my dad was a coach at Pollok, right? And I've watched the junior game. I'm telling you, the now, Kenny, there is not much difference between the lower leagues in Scotland, the League One, League Two, and the junior game. I don't think. I don't think it's that big a gap.
There's no difference at all. Maybe the only difference, a lot of the time you'll get junior players who are a lot better than senior. I played with senior players that were terrible. You know, really not that decent. Even myself, I was amazing at scoring goals and all that. But see the years I took out of football, my touching that was rank. You know, there was people in junior that could, that you know what I mean, that could lace my boots in a second, and I admit that. You know what I mean? You get a lot of players, and then people will just say the whole time, oh, their attitude wasn't good enough, this and that. But a lot of the time, it's just the manager doesn't like them. They don't fit. Their face doesn't fit. Do you know what I mean? They maybe don't fit into someone's plans. Someone it used to be who you know and what you know in football. Someone's dad would be at the side, and they would get into all the teams and all that. We've all seen it. We've all watched it. We just don't admit it when we make it professional, because we don't look back and want to slate the game or anything like that. But there's got to be a lot more honesty in football, I think. But no, I was flying at Annan, flying in there, but it was a long way from home. I was still living in Dunoon at that point, and I was travelling 340-mile round trip to get to training twice
just to get to training.
Yeah, just to get to training and get to the game.
And then obviously you've got all that going through with your brother and stuff, and then the pressures of going to play.
Madness.
That must have took its toll on you mentally.
Well, at the start it was great until I got my knee problems, and then I was getting told it was all in my head all the time, and I'm sitting in a car and train all the way up to Annan, and honestly the knee pain was incredible. It was upsetting. It was incredible. I had chronic grade 4 tendinitis.
Am I right in saying you didn't know that at the time, though?
I knew something was wrong, but
you weren't clinically diagnosed with grade 4 tendinitis at that point?
I was diagnosed after the first. They took me. I think they sent me for a MRI, and they diagnosed after that. And then I had an operation to fix it. And they always knew how much pain I was in. I mean, at one point, Stephen, I was taking 2 cocodamols, 2 ibuprofen. I was taking Voltarol gel, all off my knee, all round my knee, and all that. And then it spread to both knees, and I'm a mess. I'm in the car, literally shaking like that in the car. You know what I mean? Trying to keep this pain in. Eventually, I had to say, Gaffer, you need to pull this car over. We're in the middle of the motorway. He's pulled it over an hard shoulder just to loosen this pain off in my leg. It was brutal. So after everything, I found out I had, so basically it got so bad and I went so much through pain, I snapped my tendon completely. It just snapped. It was hard. It was really, really hard because you're going into the fans and the fans are saying what's wrong, and the gaffer's coming out saying I don't want it. I don't want to play. I don't want it. I'm not interested. Blah blah blah.
Honestly,
yeah, that happened for a long time, and it ended up some of the fans took a dislike to me. The fans, I get Player of the Year there. The fans were amazing to me, but you get the odd one saying, "Oh, he doesn't want it anymore," and that starts spreading. Do you know what I mean? That especially if the club are going through a tough time. I was trying to get back. We were going for the league. We would have won that league if we didn't have the injuries we did. I get injured, Hoppy get injured, and we lost in the playoffs. And I was a shadow of the player. I just wasn't at it. I played terrible. My knees were killing me. I'm all strapped up to the hills and on so many painkillers. And it was almost embarrassing to go out like that, you know, for things to end the way they did there. But the club, Annan as a club, phenomenal, great with me. Everyone was so great with me. The chairman and gaffer took a wee bit of dislike to me in the second year because they thought I was faking it. But now I'm left with a ruptured ACL, two ruptured tendons, and 5 operations later. So it just shows you football's mental. You know, it moves on, it moves fast. I think players have to stick up for themselves more when they're injured.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think the players should just say, "Look, I can't play. I'm in pain"?
Because they're too scared.
There's a pride issue as well, though, isn't there?
I don't think it's a pride, mate. I don't think it is. I mean, for me, I'm as proud as you get, man. But that was madness. I mean, you're too scared. You think they're going to replace you in a second, and you think you're letting all your team down, you know, and you can be made to feel like that. When someone's telling you that there was a game at Arbroath, and I don't like talking about people and all that kind of stuff, but I think this has to be said. Game at Arbroath, and I really didn't know. I knew I couldn't play this game, right? Because I'll be honest, I was in the morning saying to my mum, "I can't play this game today, Mum." And she was like, "Oh, just tell them." I said, "I can't. I'm letting them down." And I got some really good friends in Annan at that point, you know. And in the changing room, the manager actually made a pure mockery of me in front of the whole changing room. Do you want it or do you know? You're this, you're that, all this crap made me feel fucking so bad, so low.
That's at half time.
No, this was before the game. The players
before you even kicked the ball.
And one of the players, one of my best pals, Peter Watson, actually had a snap at me that day, and that wasn't like him. But there was so much pressure in the changing room, and they thought I was faking it. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what then it just goes, you know, if it's said enough, people can start believing it. And I says, right, fuck it. I'm like that, I'll play this and that, you know what I mean? And I've played and I've strapped up like anything and I scored. And we're 1-0 up, and then I think they equalised in the last 5 minutes. Brutal, but I played all right. But you can see it. See, if you look back in the videos, I'm not running right. I'm struggling to run, struggling to control the ball. Everything's hurting. And I think in that game I done some severe damage to myself that was irrecoverable. But listen, I'm here now, and I done it for the boys. That was the main thing that day.
Yeah. You mentioned that. Sort of touch on this, but you mentioned that you lost your brother.
Yeah.
Is that when the suicidal thoughts started to come in?
Do you know? I was actually really. Have you lost someone close?
Not recently, but I have before.
Well, do you remember that numb feeling?
Aye. Like you just
Well,
don't process it.
yeah, that was me for 6 months. 6 months total. I didn't shed a tear except for his funeral. 6 months, totally just oblivious. I would wake up in the morning and think, my brother in the day. And then 10 seconds later, you'd be like, oh, okay, he's not here anymore. And I would keep doing that for ages. I would go in sometimes, say to my mum, give David a phone, I need this or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And we would both just look at each other, and she would do small things like that as well. Totally numb. 6 months, mental breakdown. Totally, everything, boom, crashed at me, honestly. Brutal. Worst time ever. Just couldn't process it. Couldn't even, the feelings. I didn't allow myself to mourn, you know, and a lot of people do that. They end up crashing. And I crashed hard. And it took me a long time to recover, Stevie. It took me a long time to get myself back and to just took me a long time. I started drinking a lot. I was gambling. I would sometimes sit down in the bookies from 10 o'clock when they opened till 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't spending massive amounts of money. I would go in with a tenner and then I would ask them to put the demo on. No one bothered me in there. It was just me and the machine. And I would just play games all day.
Thinking that you were taking your mind off things, but actually you're probably making yourself worse because then you're spending.
Great habit.
You're spending all this money. But I say all this money, but like before you know it, you probably wasted hours in there.
All day. And then I've got
like,
the road, I would eat and I would go in my room, play PlayStation, 5 in the morning, not shower for sometimes 4 or 5 days. Just not even move. Sometimes I would just stay in the house.
And it did get to the point where you did try and take your own life, is that right?
Well, aye. It was. You can only keep beating yourself up for so long. Do you know what I mean? I felt an enormous sense of guilt when my brother died. I felt guilt, shame. I felt that I could have been there for him more. I felt just that I didn't have. He was on my dad. We didn't have a dad. We grew up with my mum. She done everything for us. We all looked after each other. My brother was like my dad. Do you know what I mean? He taught me everything, and I just was so empty and so lost, and then gambling, and then lying, and then feeling sorry for myself. After my brother died, I lost my girlfriend of 4.5 years because I kind of just changed as a person. You know, maybe I was hard to be around because I was so negative, and so, but, and I came to that halt where I just couldn't do it. I just wanted to be with him. That was my thing. Taking my own life. I didn't want to die. I think many people are in this place. You don't want to die. You just want to not be in that pain constantly. My thoughts were taking over all day. I'm just thinking about bad stuff, bad things, negative, horrible things, and just they diagnosed me with PTSD and depression, and gave me pills. And the PTSD, I kept seeing his. I went in the morgue. I shouldn't have done that. I don't regret it, but seeing his face the way it was, they left his eyes open and everything. Do you know what I mean? It was brutal, and it just stayed with me. It was just horrible because it was 2 weeks he was post-mortem for, and 2 weeks after it, when the body's all sunk in and all that, you don't want to see that. It killed me. And I very nearly didn't recover for that, Stevie. Honestly, that was, if my mum hadn't walked in the house at that time, I'd probably not be alive today.
But you did, mate. You did, and that's the most important thing, and that's why I wanted to bring it. That's why I wanted to bring it up because you never know. There might be people when I don't think any situation is the same, but certainly a similar situation to what you were in. And it's just all about helping these people because in the times that we're in, as I say, that's why I wanted to get you on because I think the story's absolutely fantastic. Am I right in saying that your cousin gave you the book The Secret, and did that help turn things when you read that?
That was after my fourth operation.
Aye, after your fourth operation.
The Secret, yes, by
Sorry,
Rhonda Byrne.
I'm missing me bits of the story here, but
No, that's fine. First of all, I want to say for anyone who is struggling, yes, it's very important to note that everyone's story is different, but no story warrants more than the other. Do you know what I mean? No story, just
Absolutely.
because someone's struggling with this is no less than struggling with that. Do you know what I mean? If you're struggling, and you should, and don't beat yourself up about it. You need to get the help, reach out. Don't beat yourself up because you think that what you're struggling about isn't big enough or doesn't warrant struggle. I think
The
that's very
story may be
important.
different, but depression is always the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that hospital bed was hard because they just gave me I was at Queen's Park at the time. Gus McPherson was phenomenal with me. What a man he is. And the team were great. And I was at training and I was flying again. I'm back. I've done 3, you got to remember, I've done 3 rehabs. Do you know what that takes to watch people on a bike at training all the time? Rehabbing. Oh, it's brutal. Recovering. And I've done 3 of them or 2 of them, can't remember. And I'm back in Queen's Park and I'm picking the ball about and loving it. And you're just enjoying, we all just love football.
Yeah.
And then I get my first appearance. I come on as a sub, loving it. And then I'm thinking, I'm ready to go here. I'm confident. The team believe in me. I'm not anxious when I'm training with them. There's no negativity. I feel fucking phenomenal.
And at that point, your knees feeling fine. Take it.
I had wee tweaks in my knee. I could feel that the operation had maybe not worked. But at that point, I'd convinced myself that I was supposed to be living in pain because I've just had 3 surgeries. Do you know what I mean? I'm allowed to live in pain, blah, blah, blah. I thought that was the way, basically. And I'm in training and I could run, I could pass the ball, I could shoot, without pain. Everything was good. And I got the ball off one of the players and I've turned it, hit it with my left foot and I heard the biggest bang in the world. Oh, the biggest bang. Honestly, I could like a slingshot, like, and it felt like a baseball bat had went through my leg. Honestly, that's what it felt like. You know what I've done? I've got up on the ground and went, "Who's just tackled me? Who was that?" and all that, because I thought someone had just halved me.
It was nobody near you. I remember you saying this in your video.
Nobody was near you. I mean, I'm like, when are your arms are so like, what the hell? And I looked down at my leg and it was my leg was brutal. And all the players were running up like, so I went to hospital and the doctor literally came to me and said, looked at the injury and all that. He says, "You might never play again." I was like, thanks very much, mate. You know what I mean? So I wake up in the morning, surgery and all that, and I'm lying in bed, and that's when I had a big breakdown, Stevie. That was a tough time, a really, really big breakdown. I'm in that hospital bed, and I phoned my mum at 4 in the morning, and I was greeting I must have cried to her for about 2 hours straight. Just cried my heart out. Just, why me? Why is this happening to me? What have I done wrong? This and that. Why all this hurt? Because you've lost your brother. You've got nothing there. You feel like you're losing everything. You're losing your only talent, or your only something that you've worked hard for. And I just felt empty. I felt like nothing, like a shell. I just felt so bad, constantly beating myself up in that hospital bed. So 4 nights, I was in there for 10 nights. 3 or 4 days later, my cousin comes in the door. He's big smile, man. He's brilliant. He's still he's like best mate to this day. And he comes in, he's talking and all that. And I made him greet. I was that down. I think he's just come in and seen me in my face, and I was just so down and zoned out to.
I'm a big believer in that you can feel the energy in a room. He's probably went in there and felt the energy and just.
I did, and he just. We were actually talking about it the other night, and he just was greeting when I was greeting, and then he said, "Right, before I go, here's a book," and it was The Secret. And first thing was like, right, what's this? Because he says how important it is. He'd obviously been reading this book, right? And when someone reads a book, they come in thinking they're a fucking genius, don't they? On that subject. Right, okay, attitude. You know what I mean? You're not fit, you know what I mean? They've just been reading a book or a podcast, didn't they? He said, "I know you, and you're not intelligent enough to lap that right out the door, man." And he's told me all this stuff, and he's talking about building myself back up, how to self-love, self-caring for myself. And yeah, this book was incredible. You've read it yourself with the gratitude. So first of all, I'm writing down my lists in the mornings. I mean, I'm in hospital at this point. I asked the nurses for a pen and paper, and I'm writing down I'm writing down what I'm grateful for. And it really flipped my mindset. Do you know what I mean? I was grateful for everything I had in my life. But before I wrote that down, I didn't even know I had anything to be grateful for.
Yeah, because you're that focused on what you don't have.
Yeah,
it's all about where you put your focus. And that book changed my life as well, because my mum read it, and I was in a place where I was down, and I read that, and it took me ages to apply it. I read it, and it made me feel good when I read it. But see, after that, I went back to the way I was, and I think that's important, that you can go back to there, but as long as you don't stay there, as long as you know a way out, and as long as you've always got a way out, you'll be fine. But no, that's why I wanted to bring that up, because it was massively for me. It's Rhonda Byrne that writes it, so I'll link it in the description if anybody wants to go and get it. It's a life-changing book.
It will change your life, but only if you let it.
Yep.
I think the law of attraction, it's you think good, you attract good. And I'm telling you, and this is what you do, you think positively, you will attract positive people into your life. You're still going to have a bad day, yes, but you're thinking, if you're overweight and you're thinking skinny, think skinny. You will become skinny. It's true, think skinny. If you're thinking skinny,
you need action though. You need action though. You can't just think.
That's what I mean. I'm not talking about the procrastinating. I'm saying think skinny. Thinking skinny. So think skinny. If you're thinking skinny, you are. I don't mean like just pretend you're skinny. I mean think skinny. What's happening in your diet? Clean it up. Do you know what I mean? Think skinny. Go exercise. In time, you will be in a better shape. Do you know what I mean? It's just all these simple things that and as you say, action has got to be done. And I think that the secret does that well when it's making you write down everything you're grateful for and stuff like that. I think it really hits home how much you've got.
Yeah.
Do you know? I had so much that other people don't have.
Absolutely. And in the video where you open up about it, if you want to hear Kenny talk in massive length about this, you can go over to his channel, Flip the Mindset. I will link it in the description. Go and subscribe to him, because if you're ever feeling down, it can cheer you up right away, honestly.
I tell you, man, you've probably heard enough of me now, man.
I know, I've probably fucking bored them to death right now. But you speak in that video about having an addictive personality. And that's something that, because whenever I was bored, right, I don't think I was addicted to drink, but I would always go to drink because it would be an escape from the boredom kind of a thing. And I just fell into this pattern of going out, and I was addicted to going out more than what I was at the actual drink. It was just, I'm bored, alright, that means I need to go out kind of a thing. So did you then put your focus into bodybuilding, is that right?
Yes.
And just beefing yourself up, as you can see.
Yes, I've not lifted a weight in about 3-4 months, man. I've lifted plenty of chocolate bars though, Stevie.
Well, it's Christmas, so Christmas,
so I get into bodybuilding. I'd always stayed fit. Do you know what I mean? I've got an addictive personality. I'm so obsessive. ADHD when I was younger and stuff like that. I'm very obsessive. I'm very, I'm a lot for people sometimes. I'm always wanting to do something. And through my injuries, all I had was a gym. See, when I'm going to training, I'm in the gym all the time, on a bike. So you can't just go on a bike, man. You want to do something, get in better shape for coming back. You almost get the big thing where you want to just come back as bigger and better, don't you? And I found the gym, stumbled into it, and I just loved it. That feeling of, do you know why I think? Because the big void of football in my life, I didn't have football. Like, even when I was injured, right, from my different sets of surgeries, right, I felt I had nothing. And when I bodybuilt, when I was pushing weights and doing all sorts of things like that, I felt I was something again. I felt I had something again. Do you know what I mean? I felt I had a purpose again.
That's all it's
And,
about.
and I got addicted to it. I got really addicted to it. And at the end, actually, it gave the bloody, I think it gave people, to say, you're putting weight on, muscle on, and you've got a bad knee, blah, blah, blah. It's the muscle that's doing that to your knee, you know what I mean? But this was towards the end. I just started getting bigger and bigger towards the end of my football career, because I was in the gym more than I was on a pitch. And I just had to do stuff. And then I found out I was good at it. And my genetics were quite good. So after the football stopped and my career ended with the football, I became a gym addict, just totally. It made me feel so good. My mindset, it lifted me every day. I'd wake up in the morning thinking about the gym. Even if I was going to work all day, I'd be in work thinking about the gym. And it was it's, as many people tell you, it's a new lease of life. And then I started to take it serious. Started, obviously I'm a personal trainer, as you know, but I'm starting to eat better. I'm starting to eat a lot. I'm starting to get bigger, and it came to the point where I ended up 23 stone. 23 stone, man. And I could hardly move. See if you see me right now, I'm walking about like that. I could hardly move. So yeah, I think that's important to tell people about addiction. I had fitness addiction. All I could think about. Sometimes I was going to the gym 3 times a day.
Oh man,
I was eating 8 to 10 meals a day, taking all sorts of supplements. I've always been addictive. I play the bagpipes, right, and the Scottish snare drum, and I used to spend 5, 6, 7 hours a day playing it.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was ridiculous. I just, if I find something I'm addicted to, podcasts now. So I do put my earphones on and listen to podcasts, and I think we're all addicted to something, aren't we?
I mean, it's just about managing it, mate. But I think the fitness must have been brilliant for you, because along with reading The Secret, the bodybuilding's a discipline, mate. Do you know what I mean? And, and does that not just further cement that mentality? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I used to sit here and go, oh, just heat and all that. These guys that just go to the gym, drink water, and they get pricks a lot of them, right? Know what I mean? But I think there's something in people like that think like that actually want to have the ability to be able to work it. I know that's what it was for me. It was because I never had the mindset to go and do it.
Yeah.
But a boy that really helped me out, my mate Matt McCallum, he's a personal trainer as well, and he just like it was because I think when you try and keep fit a lot and you try and lose weight, it feels like this big challenge because you want to be skinny right away, or you want to be in shape right away.
You want it yesterday, don't you?
See if you just focus on the small things, then you'll gradually, it's like building a jigsaw, you'll gradually get there.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's a discipline. It's one of the toughest sports in the world. You know, I would challenge anyone to try and eat 10 meals a day. 6, 7, 8,000 calories I was eating, then up to 10,000 calories. Mental, but it's a void. You know, and this is a danger I try to teach people now. 9 out of 10 people who go into the gym now are suffering from depression. I met a guy in the gym, a bodybuilder, and he travelled the world bodybuilding. He'd went to competitions, Arnold Classic and everything, right? And he says, Kenny, you'll find out in your years in the gym, about 90% of people in that gym are all suffering from something. You know, we're all just suffering, trying to feel better. And you meet loads of, I've met thousands of people now, personal train, thousands of people. You're almost trying to fill a void. Do you know what I mean? There was a massive void in my life, losing my brother, you know, everything else. I needed something, you know, I needed something. And the gym gave me that. And what I teach people now is I don't go to the gym anywhere near as much now. 4 days a week will do me, because I got addicted, and then it takes over your life, and then that breeds other problems. You have to find a balance. You're actually just filling a void. Now, you don't need to just fill that void with the gym. You can fill it with reading books. You can fill it with phoning family members. You can fill it with drawing. You can fill it with, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With sewing. You know, it doesn't need to be just the gym. Just get something that you like, a hobby, get a routine. The gym gave me routine. It gave me when I was to eat, gave me when I was to train, gave me when I was to do my cardio. Do you know what I mean? Gave me when I was to sleep. I knew to grow more muscle, I had to sleep more, so I would make sure I was going to bed at better times. So it gave me, it gave me the tools to become a much better, stronger minded person, and I think a lot of people have said what you say, like they were like, I used to hate bodybuilders before I met you and stuff like that. I think we're all these big, nasty, donut guys, but we just, I think we just we found a purpose, we found a purpose, we found a love in lifting weights,
Yeah.
And now my purpose is in my little boy, I put a lot of time into my little boy. My purpose was on helping people. I love helping people and stopping people from committing suicide, and that's my void now. It's not just the gym. I've learned that balance. People say work-life balance, but I say life-work balance. Do you know what I mean? Put your life first.
Always,
Build your life around your work.
always, because your workplace, all right, unless you're self-employed, it might be different, but your workplace is always going to move on with it. So,
Absolutely.
so put your
Yeah,
life first,
honestly.
always.
Work to live. Do not live to work. Honestly, I cannot stress that enough.
I know I've had you on for a good while, so I'll just last couple of questions before we wrap it up, mate. But thank you very much for doing it. I just want to touch on the podcast. Where did the idea for the podcast come from? What made you want it?
I needed a bigger platform to help people, and I thought, what better way? Because I created Flip the Mindset, obviously, which I've not publicised it yet. It's an ebook, and it'll be a website on people. It's a platform of hope for people struggling with the pressures of modern day society. Hope that they can get back from even the darkest of places. You can turn your life around. Do you know what I mean? And an outlet for people to see people that have been through the same stuff that they might be struggling with. So the podcast, I thought, what a better thing to do than not to interview people, but to have discussions with stars, people who we may idolise, right? And bring them down to our level, talking about mental health. What has affected them? What have they suffered from? Have they ever seeked therapy? Have they ever had the troubles that we have? Is their life what you're seeing online? And it's been amazing. We've had hundreds of thousands of views. You know what I mean? We've just really hit off. Barry Ferguson coming out and saying that he seeked anger management. That's massive. It's amazing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because many of us struggle with that sometimes. With anger and blowing off steam, and it can lose friends and relationships. Go and talk about it.
Can I tell you a story about Barry Ferguson, right?
Absolutely.
I was coming back for a game, Motherwell v Livingston, and my dad's obviously been a coach in the game and stuff. We stopped because we've seen Charlie Miller and another one of the Dundee United boys. He played with Dundee United at the time.
Yeah.
The motor had broke down on the motorway. So we picked him up, and he's like to my dad, "Oh, we're going to Barry Ferguson's house." And so we drove him, we dropped Charlie off, and Barry's at the door, and I'm a wee guy at the time, and I'm starting to shout, "Barry! Barry!" And he must not have heard me, but in my head, I'm like, he's ignored me. See, for that day, I hated Barry Ferguson, right? Hated him, right? I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It got to the point at Motherwell one day, somebody offered me Barry Ferguson's tap, and I'm only a wee guy at the time. He said, "Do you want that?" I went, "No, keep it." I refused it. But I will say, see, after watching the podcast that you did with Barry Ferguson, it completely changed my opinion on the guy. And it taught me a lesson. It taught me, don't judge people that you don't know. Don't judge people that you don't know. And it's a bit hypocritical in me because I've been judged for the disability. I mean, I get bullied in school and stuff for something that wasn't my fault at the end of the day. So it wasn't right for me to do that.
He was an easy guy to hate.
Aye.
And we do judge people. You're absolutely right. I think, I've had about 90, 100 emails, the exact same. Celtic fan here. I absolutely loved your interview with Barry Ferguson. What a gentleman. You know, I really like him now. I hated him for years. Rangers fans who hated him for some stuff to do with Rangers, with the debt stuff and all that, text me saying, what a man, what a gentleman. And that just shows you, doesn't it? And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring people down and just say, listen, Barry's just like me or you. He's a man. He has problems, the same as we do. Maybe on different scales on job front and that kind of stuff, because he's played at the highest level of football, but he's just a man still. You know, we all work different jobs. He's just a man. He's nothing more special than us. As being a human, he's just a very talented footballer with a heart. He still is. He's got air in his lungs. Do you know what I mean? And he suffers from the same stuff we do. And all my guests that have been on, I've kind of talked openly about their struggles and talked about suffering from depression and how they overcame their problems. And that's all I'm aiming to do with the podcast, is kind of give people hope that they can do the same and hopefully spark them into action as well.
Well, I love Barry now, honestly. I can listen to him any day of the week, but I think you're certainly doing that with the podcast. It certainly inspired me to go and start things anyway. So thanks for that. But no,
brilliant.
Well, the last question is, where do you hope to take it? Where do you want to take it? And finally, if you've got any advice, I know I've touched on it a lot, but any advice for people moving forward during this lockdown? That's the last two.
I hope to take the podcast to the moon. You know, there's no I just want to help as many people as I can. You know, there's no limit for what I can do with it. I'm not trying to, you know, promote myself and all that garbage. I just want to help people, to give people hope. You know, for people to come up to me in the street and say, Kenny boy, I turned my life around watching your podcast. That would be class, you know, and many people have already, which has been phenomenal, and my platform stuff, and they've I've helped them to a better life. I just want to help people, give awareness, especially for men's mental health, because we've just too many people taking their own life. I want to teach people to get things done. You know, don't sit and feel sorry for yourself. Don't make feeling sorry for yourself a habit. Yes, have a bad day. See if you have a day where you lie on the couch all day eating shit and feeling sorry for yourself. Have that, you know, that's fine. You know what I mean? But accept it and appreciate it. Don't beat yourself up for it after it. Accept it, right? I had a bad day. So what? Tomorrow I'm going to do what I was going to do, you know, I'm going to plan. I want to teach people to make routines, you know, especially during this lockdown. We're all going through a tough time. You're knocked out your routine. Create your own routine. Get up, plan your day the night before. Do you know what I mean? Make your bed, have your glasses of water, eat at the right times, eat the right kinds of food. If you're going to have a couple of bad meals, so what? Move on. Do you know what I mean? Don't procrastinate too much. Set wee goals and targets for yourself. Even not in lockdown, even just in life in general. Set goals and targets, work to them. If you fail, good. Accept it, move forward again. Do you know what I mean? We're all going to fail. It teaches us lessons. And yeah, just a big one, stop beating yourself up. Big tip for people during this lockdown, don't beat yourself up. Get fresh air. Fresh air is so important, so important, I think. And it doesn't matter where you live, what you do, if you're next to a blooming, if you walk out and you're in a tough scheme, you know what I mean, get that heat out the window, you know, just breathe, get a bit of fresh air. This is hard. It's been hard for so many of us, isn't it? And we're not all in the same boat, but we're definitely in the same storm. Do you know what I mean? And we can give each other we can help each other through, you know, maybe lend each other a paddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, just like you get out of the storm that you and him are going to get out of this as well, mate. So thanks very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you, mate.
You're absolutely welcome, bro. Take care.